The pediatric ward at St. Catherine's Hospital was the kind of place that made wealthy people uncomfortable. Not because it was dirty or poorly managed. It was immaculate, actually. The nurses were exceptional, the doctors dedicated beyond what their salaries justified. But no amount of cheerful murals painted on the walls or colorful mobiles hanging from the ceiling could disguise what the place really was. A building where children fought for their lives. Marcus Webb knew this the moment he stepped off the elevator on the 4th floor. His assistant had suggested a different entrance, a quieter route that would take him directly to the hospital administrator's office without passing through the ward itself. Marcus had ignored the suggestion. He hadn't built Webb Technologies into a billion-dollar company by avoiding uncomfortable realities. He was here to discuss the funding proposal for the hospital's new oncology wing, $40 million, significant even by his standards. He wanted to see exactly what his money would be touching. His security detail, 2 men named Porter and Walsh, flanked him at a respectful distance. His assistant, Diana, walked briskly beside him with a tablet and a schedule that would make most people's heads spin. Marcus was 51, silver-haired, the kind of man whose presence filled a room without effort. He had been on the cover of Forbes 3 times. He did not typically walk through pediatric wards. He was halfway down the corridor when he almost stepped on her. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, small even for that age, with dark braids that someone had tied with yellow ribbons this morning, though one had come partially loose. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor outside a closed patient room, hugging a stuffed elephant to her chest, staring at the door like she could see through it by sheer force of will. Marcus stopped. Porter nearly walked into him. "Sir," Diana said quietly, "Administrator Reeves is expecting us in 4 minutes." Marcus didn't move. The little girl hadn't noticed him yet. She was completely absorbed in whatever was happening behind that closed door. Her small shoulders were rigid with the particular tension of a child, trying very hard not to cry in public because she'd already decided that crying wouldn't help. Marcus had a daughter once. She'd be 23 now. He crouched down, which surprised everyone in his vicinity, including himself. "Hey," he said softly. The girl looked up. Her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. She had the careful, assessing gaze of a child who had recently learned that the world was not entirely trustworthy. "You're in the way," she said, not rudely, just factually. "I am," Marcus agreed. "I'll move in a second. What are you looking at?" She turned back to the door. "My brother's in there. They made me come out when the doctors came in." A pause. "He doesn't like being alone with just doctors. He gets scared and then he pretends he's not scared, and that's worse." Marcus said nothing. Sometimes silence was the most honest response. "He's 8, the girl continued, still addressing the door rather than Marcus. "His name is Daniel. He's been here for 22 days. She said the number with the precision of someone who had been counting very carefully. "He has leukemia. That's cancer of the blood." "I know what leukemia is," Marcus said quietly. "Most grown-ups say, 'Oh, sweetheart,' when I tell them." She glanced at him sideways. "You didn't say that." "Would it help if I did?" She considered this seriously. "No, it's what people say when they don't know what else to say, but they want you to feel like they said something." She looked at him fully for the first time. "Who are you?" "Marcus Webb." Nothing, no recognition. He found that unexpectedly refreshing. "I'm Maya," she said. "Why are you here? You don't look sick." "I'm meeting with the people who run this hospital, about money." Maya processed this with the pragmatic efficiency of a child who had spent 3 weeks absorbing adult conversations in waiting rooms. "Is it about the new cancer part they want to build? My mom was crying on the phone about that last week. She said it would help kids like Daniel, but they don't have enough money yet." Marcus looked at Diana. Diana looked at her tablet. "Something like that," he said. The door to Daniel's room opened. A doctor emerged, a tired woman in her 40s with kind eyes and the efficient movements of someone managing 17 things simultaneously. She almost walked into Marcus, registered his presence with brief surprise, then looked down at Maya. "He's asking for you, sweetheart. The new medication is settled in. He's doing okay." Maya was on her feet before the sentence finished. Then she stopped and turned back to Marcus, still crouched at her level. "My brother is dying," she said, not dramatically, not for effect, just the truth as she understood it, offered to a stranger who hadn't treated her like something fragile. "The doctors are trying really hard, but I heard my mom tell my aunt that if the new treatment doesn't work, we're running out of options." She hugged her elephant tighter. "I don't know why I told you that. You're just a money person." She disappeared into Daniel's room. Marcus stayed crouched for a moment longer than was strictly dignified. Then he stood, turned to Diana and said, "Cancel Reeves." "Sir." "Reschedule for tomorrow, and get me Doctor." He looked at the doctor, who was still standing there watching him with an expression she was working hard to keep neutral. "I'm sorry. Your name?" "Dr. Amara Singh, Pediatric Oncology." "Get me 30 minutes with Dr. Singh, now if she's available." Singh looked at him carefully. "I have 12 minutes before my next patient." "That'll do." Diana was already on her phone, expression perfectly composed in the way of assistants who have learned to expect the unexpected from their employers. They found an empty consultation room. Singh sat across from Marcus without any of the deference that hospital administrators typically performed in his presence. She had the manner of someone who had long since decided that the only currency that mattered in this ward was honesty. "Daniel Ortega," Marcus said. "What's his situation?" Singh studied him. "You understand I can't discuss a patient's case with." "I'm not asking as a donor. I'm asking as someone who just had a 6-year-old explain her brother's prognosis to me in a hallway. She said you're running out of options. Is that accurate?" A pause. Singh folded her hands on the table. "Daniel has relapsed acute lymphoblastic leukemia. He's undergone 2 rounds of chemotherapy. The second was partially effective but not sufficiently. There is a CAR T-cell therapy trial that would be his best remaining option. It's showing remarkable results in early studies." "Where's the trial?" "Johns Hopkins, Boston Children's, Mayo Clinic." Singh's voice remained clinical, but something behind her eyes was not. "The therapy itself, if he qualifies and is accepted, runs approximately $600,000. The family's insurance has reached its lifetime maximum. They've exhausted their savings. There are grants available, but the application processes take months, and Daniel—" She stopped. "Doesn't have months," Marcus said. "He has weeks before his window for the therapy closes entirely. After that, his options become palliative rather than curative." The room was very quiet. Marcus had attended approximately 400 business meetings in the past 5 years. He had negotiated acquisitions worth more than some countries' GDP. He had sat across from senators and prime ministers, and people who controlled things that ordinary people never thought about. He had never felt the particular weight of a room the way he felt it now. What would it take to get him into the trial at Mayo within the next 2 weeks? Singh looked at him with the careful expression of someone who had learned not to let hope move too fast. "Medically, he's a strong candidate. His age, his overall condition, his specific cell markers. The barrier is purely financial and administrative. The financial piece is the larger problem. The administrative piece can move quickly if the financial piece is resolved." "The financial piece is resolved," Marcus said. The words landed simply. No drama, no performance. Singh was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Webb, I'll have my attorney contact the hospital's financial office this afternoon. I'd like the family to know before the end of the day if possible, and I'd prefer," he paused, "I'd prefer they not be told where it came from, just that it's been handled." Singh looked at him for a long moment. Outside the consultation room, the sounds of the ward continued. A monitor beeping, a child laughing at something on a television, a mother's voice murmuring something soft and repetitive, the sound of someone soothing in the only way available to them. "Can I ask why?" Singh said. Marcus thought about a little girl with yellow ribbons and a stuffed elephant, sitting cross-legged on a hospital floor, staring at a door and counting days. "She didn't want me to say, 'Oh, sweetheart,'" he said, "so I won't." He met with Administrator Reeves the following morning and confirmed the $40 million for the oncology wing. But he also established the Webb Pediatric Emergency Fund, a separate, immediately accessible pool of money, specifically for families who had run out of options before the paperwork caught up. Diana thought it was impulsive. His board thought it was admirable but inefficient. Marcus didn't particularly care what either group thought. 3 weeks later, he was in his office when Diana knocked and entered with an envelope. "This came through the hospital's administrative office. They flagged it for you." The envelope was pink. His name was written on it in the careful, oversized letters of a child who had recently learned to write in cursive and was proud of the accomplishment. Inside was a single piece of paper, folded 3 times. "Dear money person, my brother Daniel went to Mayo Clinic. The doctors there say he is a very good candidate for the special treatment. He started last week. He threw up a lot at first, but now he is feeling a little better. He made a friend there named Tamaz who also likes dinosaurs. My mom cried for a whole day when she found out someone paid for it. She kept saying she didn't understand. I told her sometimes people just decide to help. I still don't know who you are, but one of the nurses said a good person made it happen. I think I know who. Daniel is going to be okay, I decided. Your friend, Maya. P.S. My elephant's name is Gerald. He says thank you too." Marcus Webb did not cry in his office. He came close. He folded the letter carefully and put it in his desk drawer, not the filing cabinet, not the document system, the actual drawer where he kept things that mattered. Then he called Diana and told her to make the Webb Pediatric Emergency Fund permanent, fully endowed, with a dedicated staff and a mandate to process emergency applications within 48 hours. "What's the budget?" Diana asked. "Whatever it takes," Marcus said. Simple as that. 6 months later, Daniel Ortega walked out of Mayo Clinic with a clear scan and a toy dinosaur he'd gotten from Tamaz as a going-away gift. Maya walked beside him, Gerald the elephant tucked under her arm, her yellow ribbons tied perfectly this time. She never found out for certain who had paid. She had her theory. And on a shelf in Marcus Webb's office, between an industry award and a photograph taken at the White House, sat a crayon drawing that had arrived 3 weeks after the letter. It showed 2 stick figures, one small, one tall, both smiling. At the bottom, in careful cursive, it said, "The money person and me." Marcus had built a company from nothing. He had created thousands of jobs. He had funded research and infrastructure and educational programs that reached hundreds of thousands of people. But when journalists asked him, in later years, about his most meaningful philanthropic work, he never mentioned the oncology wing. He'd pause, smile slightly, and say, "I met a little girl in a hallway who didn't want to be pitied. She just wanted someone to actually do something, so I did. That's it. That's everything," he'd say. "Sometimes the most important meeting of your day is the one that wasn't on your schedule." And somewhere in Minnesota, a boy named Daniel who loved dinosaurs was alive to argue with his sister about what to watch on television, which Maya would tell you was the most annoying and wonderful thing in the world.